They laughed when she asked for a rifle. Not a chuckle, not polite doubt. Full-throated, boot-stomping laughter that echoed across Falcon Ridge like a death sentence. Lena Cross didn't flinch, didn't blink, just stood there. 42 years old, 5'6", gray streaking her pulled-back hair, while 23 recruits half her age waited for her to crack. The instructor's face went red. "Ma'am, protocol says—" "I know what protocol says." Her voice cut clean. Cold, the kind of calm that makes dangerous people nervous. 1 rifle, standard issue, 5 rounds. The range went silent. Then someone snorted. Another laughed. Within seconds, the whole line was grinning, phones out, ready to watch the old lady embarrass herself on camera. The instructor hesitated. His hand hovered over the rifle rack. Then he made the decision that would change everything. One chance. Lena took the weapon, checked the chamber, felt its weight, and every single person there had no idea what was about to happen. Before we begin, if you want to see how this story unfolds, stay with me until the very end. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Now let's dive in. The morning sun broke over Falcon Ridge Training Base like a blade, sharp, unforgiving, cutting through the Virginia hills with the kind of light that exposed everything. Dust hung in the air, kicked up by boots that had been marching since 0500. The firing range stretched out in neat military rows, targets at 50, 100, 200 meters, flags snapping in the wind, the smell of gun oil and sweat. Recruits lined up shoulder to shoulder. Most were in their 20s, fit, eager, terrified in that specific way people get when they're about to be judged by someone who's seen it all before. Lena Cross stood third from the left. She didn't belong here. Everyone knew it. She knew it. The paperwork had flagged her application 3 times. Age, background, prior experience, none. But there was a memo attached, handwritten, from someone high enough up the chain that nobody asked questions. So here she was. The lead instructor was Staff Sergeant Kyle Brennan, 38, barrel-chested, with a face that looked like it had been chiseled from anger and protein powder. He paced the line with his hands behind his back, eyes scanning each recruit like he was pricing cattle. "Listen up," his voice cracked across the range. "You're here because you think you can shoot. You think you've got what it takes. You think watching YouTube tutorials and playing Call of Duty makes you operators." A few nervous laughs. "It doesn't." Brennan stopped in front of a kid with fresh buzz cut and trembling hands. "What's your name?" Private Dawson, sir." "You scared, Dawson?" "No, sir." "Liar." Brennan moved on. "Fear is good, keeps you sharp. Stupidity gets you killed." He turned toward Lena. His eyes narrowed. "And you are?" "Lena Cross." "Age?" 42. Someone coughed. It sounded suspiciously like a laugh. Brennan's jaw tightened. "Prior service?" "No." "Any firearms experience?" Lena paused, just a heartbeat. Some. Brennan let the word hang. "Ma'am, I don't know who signed off on your paperwork, but this isn't a hobby range. This is a federal training program. We're building—" "I understand what you're building, Sergeant." Her tone didn't rise, didn't harden. It just was, like stating a fact of physics. Brennan's face flushed. A recruit down the line snickered. Another whispered something. Lena didn't turn, didn't acknowledge. Her eyes stayed forward, locked on the distant targets. "All right," Brennan stepped back, addressing the group. "Today we assess baseline competency. You'll each fire 5 rounds at 50 meters. Handgun, standard issue Glock 19. We're looking for grouping, not perfection. Safety first, ego never." He gestured to the table where pistols were laid out in neat rows, each beside a loaded magazine. "When I call your name, step up. Take your weapon. Fire when ready. Any questions?" Silence. "Good. Dawson, you're up." The kid stepped forward, hands shaking so bad he nearly dropped the magazine. Brennan watched with the dead-eyed patience of someone who'd seen this 1,000 times. Dawson managed to load, aim, and fire. His shot scattered across the target. 2 hits, 3 misses. He stepped back, face red. "Better than half the recruits I've seen," Brennan said. Not kindly, just factual. Next, Martinez. One by one, they cycled through. Some did well, most didn't. The best grouping came from a prior Army reservist who put 4 out of 5 in the chest ring. Brennan actually nodded. Then he called, "Cross!" Lena stepped forward. And that's when it happened. She walked past the handguns. Stopped at the rifle rack. "Sergeant Brennan?" He turned. "Yeah? I'd like to use a rifle." The range went so quiet you could hear the flag snapping 200 meters away. Brennan blinked. "Excuse me?" "A rifle," Lena repeated. Calm. Even. Standard issue M4, 5 rounds. Same test. For 3 full seconds, nobody moved. Then someone laughed. It started small. A snort from the back of the line. Then another recruit grinned. Then another. Within moments, the whole group was fighting smiles, exchanging glances, a few pulling out phones. Brennan's face went from confusion to irritation to something close to disbelief. "Ma'am," he said slowly, "this is a handgun assessment. The rifle qual happens in week 3. You don't just, 'I'm aware of the schedule.' Then you know, I know what I'm asking for." Her voice hadn't changed. Still calm, still factual. But there was something underneath it now, something that made Brennan pause. A recruit named Chen whispered to the guy next to him. "Is she serious?" "She's going to embarrass herself," someone else muttered. "Yo, I'm recording this." Lena didn't react, didn't turn. Her breathing stayed even, eyes forward, hands relaxed at her sides. Brennan stepped closer, lowered his voice. "Listen, I don't know what you think you're proving here, but I'm not proving anything, Sergeant. I'm making a request." "This isn't a request kind of place." "Then make an exception." His jaw clenched. She was older than him, calmer than him, and somehow in front of 23 recruits and 2 assistant instructors, she was making him look uncertain. Brennan hated that. He turned to his assistant, Corporal Hayes, a wiry guy with sharp eyes. "You believe this?" Hayes just shrugged. "She's got clearance to be here. Paperwork checks." "That's not what I asked." "You want my opinion?" Hayes grinned. "Let her try. Worst case, she misses and learns some humility. Best case, we get a funny story." Brennan looked back at Lena. She hadn't moved, hadn't pleaded, hadn't explained, just stood there like she was waiting for the inevitable. "All right," Brennan said finally. He walked to the rifle rack, pulled down an M4, checked the chamber, and turned back. "One chance. 5 rounds, 50 meters. You miss, you're done for the day. You waste my time, you run laps until you puke. Clear?" "Clear?" He handed her the rifle. Lena took it with both hands, felt the weight, 30 inches, 7 pounds, cold metal and polymer. She turned it over once, checking the magazine well, the selector switch, the charging handle. Someone whispered, "She doesn't even know how to hold it." But Brennan was watching her hands, and his pulse kicked up a notch, because Lena Cross handled that rifle like she'd been born with one. She pressed the magazine release, checked it, slapped it back in, pulled the charging handle with a smooth, practiced motion, click-clack, and let it snap forward, safety on, muzzle down, all in about 4 seconds. The laughter stopped. Brennan's eyes narrowed. "Where'd you learn that?" "My grandfather." "Your grandfather?" "Yes." "He military?" "No." "Then what?" "He taught me to shoot." Brennan waited for more. She didn't give it. "All right." He stepped back, voice harder now. "Lane 3, 50 meters. Target center mass. 5 rounds. When you're ready." Lena walked to the firing line. The recruits crowded closer, phones out, grins wide. This was content gold. Middle-aged woman with 0 experience about to get humiliated on a military range. Someone was already typing a caption. Lena set her feet, shoulders square, left foot slightly forward, weight distributed. She raised the rifle, cheek to stock, eye to sight, breathing slowed, 50 meters. Wind from the left, maybe 3 knots. Temperature rising. Target. Standard paper silhouette, black on tan. Her finger rested outside the trigger guard. Brennan watched from 10 feet back. Hayes stood beside him, arms crossed. "She's gonna jerk the trigger," Hayes muttered. "Probably." Lena exhaled, half a breath, held, then she fired. Crack! The recoil pushed back into her shoulder, firm, familiar, controlled. The rifle barely moved. Downrange, the target fluttered. Brennan raised his binoculars. Center mass. Dead center. He lowered the binoculars, looked at Lena. She was already resetting, breathing again, finger back on the trigger. Crack. Second shot. Brennan raised the binoculars again, same hole. His pulse spiked. No way, Hayes said. Crack. Third shot. Same. Damn. Hole. The recruits went quiet. Phone still recording, but nobody was laughing now. Lena fired the fourth round, then the fifth. 5 shots. 5 seconds apart. Same breathing pattern. Same controlled recoil. When the echo faded, Lena safed the rifle, ejected the magazine, locked the bolt back, set the weapon down on the bench, stepped back. Brennan walked to the spotting scope, adjusted focus, stared at the target for a full 10 seconds. Then he turned to Hayes. Get the general. Hayes blinked. What? You heard me. Get General Marks. Now. Sir, she's not scheduled to... Now, Corporal. Hayes took off running. Brennan turned back to Lena. His face was pale. Not angry. Not impressed. Something else. Wary. Ma'am, he said slowly, where exactly did your grandfather teach you to shoot? Lena met his eyes. A farm. In Montana. And what did he do before the farm? She didn't answer right away, just looked at him with that same calm, unreadable expression. Then she said, he never talked about it. Thus, the recruits were still standing there, frozen, when a black SUV pulled up to the range entrance. Out stepped General Sarah Marks, 56. Silver hair in a tight bun, 3 stars on her collar. She walked like someone who'd spent 30 years making life or death decisions and sleeping fine afterward. Brennan snapped to attention. Ma'am. At ease, Sergeant. Marks's eyes scanned the range. You said it was urgent. Yes, ma'am. We have a situation. Define situation. Brennan gestured toward the target. Marks walked over, picked up the binoculars, and looked down range. Her expression didn't change. She lowered the binoculars. Looked at Lena. Name? Lena Cross. Prior service? No, ma'am. Competitive shooting? No, ma'am. Marks handed the binoculars to Brennan, walked closer to Lena, studied her face, her posture, the way she stood. Who trained you? My grandfather. Name? Lena hesitated, just a fraction of a second. Jacob Cross. Mark's face went still. Not shocked, not surprised, just still, like someone had pressed pause on a video. She glanced at Brennan. Clear the range. Ma'am? Everyone out, now. Brennan didn't argue. You heard the general. Recruits, back to barracks. Move! The recruits scrambled, phones away, boots pounding gravel. Within 90 seconds, the range was empty except for Marks, Lena, and Brennan. Marks waited until they were alone. Then she said, Show me your left shoulder. Lena's eyes flickered. Ma'am? Your shoulder. If Jacob Cross trained you, you'll have a mark. Show me. Lena reached up, pulled down the collar of her shirt. There, just below the collarbone, was a tattoo. A black bird. Wings spread. Talons extended. Mark stared at it for 5 full seconds. Then she turned to Brennan. Sergeant, you're dismissed. General, I... Dismissed. Brennan saluted, left. The moment he was gone, Mark's entire demeanor shifted. The military formality dropped. Her voice went low, almost soft. When did he die? Lena's throat tightened. 2 years ago. I'm sorry. You knew him. It wasn't a question. Marks nodded. Not well, but I knew of him. She glanced at the tattoo again. Black Talon, unit insignia, classified ops, Cold War era. They were ghosts, the kind of operators who didn't exist on paper. Lena's chest went tight. He never told me. He wasn't supposed to. Marks looked her in the eye. What did he tell you? That precision mattered. That stillness was a weapon. that most people fire guns. Good shooters fire solutions. Marks almost smiled. That sounds like him. He made me practice every day. Dawn, before school, breathing drills, sight alignment, trigger control. I thought it was just bonding, something to do. It wasn't. No. Lena's voice cracked just slightly. It wasn't. Marks crossed her arms. You didn't come here by accident. No. You came here because he's gone and you don't know what else to do. Lena looked away. Wind tugged at her hair. Distant flags snapped. I came here, she said quietly, because I need to know what he was preparing me for. Marks was silent for a long moment. Then she said, Walk with me. Taz. They walked the perimeter of the range, gravel crunching, sunlight slanting through the trees. Mark spoke carefully, choosing each word. Black Talon was disbanded in 1987. Officially, it never existed. The operators were reassigned, records scrubbed. Your grandfather was one of the best. Long-range precision, psychological ops, deep cover work. He did things that kept this country safe and nobody will ever know his name. Lena listened, didn't interrupt. When the unit dissolved, most of the operators disappeared. Some went private sector. Some drank themselves to death. A few, like Jacob, just vanished. Became farmers, teachers, ghosts in plain sight. Why? Because that kind of work changes you, and most of them didn't want to pass it on. Mark stopped walking, turned to face her. But your grandfather did. He never said anything. He didn't have to. He showed you every morning, every drill. He was building something in you, a foundation. Lena's hands curled into fists. For what? Mark studied her. That's the question, isn't it? I'm 42 years old. I've worked admin jobs my whole life. I have no military background, no tactical experience. You're exactly what we need. Lena stopped. What? Marks pulled a phone from her pocket, typed something, waited. A message came back. She read it, nodded. Then she looked at Lena. There's a program, experimental, off-book. We recruit people who don't fit the mold, people who've been trained outside traditional channels, people who can operate without the baggage that comes with military service. What kind of program? The kind that doesn't exist, the kind that requires total commitment, the kind that will take everything you have and ask for more. Lena's pulse kicked up. And if I say no? Then you go home. Live your life. Forget this conversation ever happened. And if I say yes? Mark smiled. It wasn't warm. It wasn't cold. It was just honest. Then you become what your grandfather was training you to be. The wind picked up. Flags snapped louder. Somewhere in the distance, a vehicle engine rumbled. Lena looked at the range, at the targets, at the rifle still sitting on the bench. She thought about Jacob, about the early mornings, the silence, the way he never praised, never criticized, just corrected, adjusted, built. How long do I have to decide? 24 hours. Lena nodded. Okay. Marks turned to leave, then stopped. One more thing. Yes? That grouping you shot, 5 rounds, same hole, 50 meters. Marks met her eyes. That's not beginner's luck. That's genetic memory. Muscle trained so deep it's instinct. She paused. Your grandfather didn't just teach you to shoot, he taught you to be a shooter. There's a difference. What's the difference? Shooters react, operators decide. Mark started walking again. 24 hours, Ms. Cross. Don't waste them. Lena sat alone in this barracks that night. The room was small. Cot. Locker. Window overlooking the range. She stared at her hands, calloused from years of office work, but underneath older calluses, from triggers, from grips, from a life she didn't know she'd been living. Her phone buzzed. A text from her sister. Hey, how's boot camp? LOL. Call me when you can. Lena didn't reply. Instead, she pulled out an old photo, creased, faded. Jacob Cross standing in front of a barn, rifle in hand, face weathered and calm. She'd found it in his things after he died. On the back, in his handwriting. Precision is patience. Patience is power. She stared at it until her vision blurred. Then she stood, walked to the window, looked out at the range. The targets were still up, swaying in the wind. She thought about the laughter, the doubt, the moment the general's face changed when she saw the tattoo, and she thought about Jacob, about the drills, the silence, the lessons without explanation. He'd been preparing her. Not for this, not exactly, but for the possibility of this. A knock at the door. Lena turned. "Come in." Sergeant Brennan stepped inside. He looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am." "Sergeant, He cleared his throat. "I wanted to apologize. For earlier. The attitude, I didn't You don't need to apologize." "I do. You earned respect today and I didn't give it." Lena studied him. He meant it. "Thank you," she said. Brennan nodded, started to leave, then stopped. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "That tattoo, the bird, what's it mean?" Lena touched her shoulder. "It means I come from something I didn't understand. And now? Now I'm starting to." Brennan left. Lena sat back down, picked up the photo again, and for the first time in 2 years she felt something she hadn't felt since Jacob died. Purpose. The next morning, Lena walked into General Marks's office at 600. Marks was already there, coffee in hand, files spread across the desk. "Miss Cross? General, have you made a decision?" Lena didn't sit, didn't hesitate. "Yes?" Marks set down her coffee. "And? I'm in." For a moment, Marks just looked at her. Then she nodded. "Good." She pulled a folder from the desk, slid it across. "Read this. Sign the last page. Once you do, there's no going back." Lena opened the folder. The first page was a non-disclosure agreement. The second was a liability waiver. The third was a transfer order to a facility with no name and coordinates that didn't match any map. The fourth page was a single sentence. "By signing below, you acknowledge that your previous identity will be suspended for the duration of your service." Lena's hand hovered over the pen. "What does that mean?" "It means Lena Cross, admin worker, stops existing. You become a trainee, then an operator, then a tool. You won't have a name. You'll have a call sign. You won't have a family. You'll have a unit. You won't have a life. You'll have a mission. And when it's over, if you survive, you get your name back. If you don't..." Mark shrugged. "You were never here." Lena picked up the pen, signed. Marks took the folder, filed it, stood. "Transport leaves in 1 hour. Pack light. Bring nothing personal." "Understood." Marks walked her to the door, then stopped. "One last thing." "Yes?" "Your grandfather would be proud." Lena's throat tightened. She nodded, didn't trust her voice. Marks opened the door, and Lena Cross walked through it into a life she never knew she was meant to live. The transport was a windowless van with government plates and 2 silent drivers who didn't make eye contact. Lena climbed in at 700. The door slammed shut. Engine started. Gravel crunched under tires. No goodbye. No ceremony. Just movement. She sat on a metal bench bolted to the floor, duffel bag between her boots. The interior smelled like diesel and old canvas. No music. No radio. Just the hum of the road and the occasional crackle of static from the driver's radio up front. 3 hours passed, then 4. The van never stopped. Didn't slow for traffic. Didn't pause for food or fuel. It just drove, cutting through back roads and unmarked highways that didn't show up on any GPS. Lena kept her breathing steady. Eyes forward, hands resting on her knees. She thought about the photo still tucked in her jacket pocket. Jacob's face, that weathered calm. The way he used to stand at the barn door at dawn, coffee in hand, waiting for her without a word. Precision is patience. The van made a sharp turn, descended. The road changed, smooth asphalt to rough gravel, then dirt, then something that felt like barely controlled chaos. Finally, it stopped. The back door opened. Sunlight blasted in. Lena squinted, grabbed her bag, and stepped out into nothing. Flat scrubland stretched in every direction. No buildings, no structures, just red dirt, scattered brush, and a sky so wide it felt like standing at the edge of the world. Then she saw it. Half a mile out, built into a hillside. A bunker, concrete, camouflaged, barely visible unless you knew where to look. A woman stood waiting, mid-30s, tactical pants, black t-shirt, hair pulled back so tight it looked painful, eyes like gun barrels. Cross? Yes. I'm Instructor Vega. You speak when spoken to. You move when told. You think when ordered. Clear? Clear. Good. Vega turned and started walking toward the bunker. Keep up. Lena followed. They crossed the empty ground in silence. Heat shimmered off the dirt. No shade, no relief, just open sky and the distant sound of something mechanical grinding underground. Vega stopped at a steel door built into the hillside, pressed her palm to a scanner. The door hissed open. Inside was a staircase, descending, lit by harsh fluorescent lights that buzzed like dying insects. They went down. 3 levels. Maybe 4. Lena lost count. The air got colder. The walls changed from concrete to reinforced steel. Pipes ran overhead. Somewhere deeper, machinery hummed. Finally, they reached a corridor. Doors on both sides, each marked with a number. No names, no labels. Vega stopped at door 12. Opened it. Your quarters, bunk, locker, latrine down the hall. Lights out at 2200, wake up at 0430, breakfast at 0445, training starts at 0500. Lena stepped inside. The room was 8 by 10, concrete walls, metal cot, footlocker, a single overhead bulb. Any questions? Vega asked. No. Wrong answer. Lena turned. What? You should always have questions. Means you're paying attention. Vega leaned against the doorframe. So ask. Lena set her bag down. What is this place? Classified. What am I training for? You'll find out if you make it. How many don't? Vega smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. Most. She left. The door closed. Lena stood in the center of the room, listening to the hum of machinery, the distant echo of footsteps, the sound of her own breathing. Then she unpacked. Breakfast was served in a windowless cafeteria that smelled like burned coffee and industrial disinfectant. Lena walked in at 0445, following the sound of voices and clattering trays. 12 people sat scattered across metal tables, all ages, all sizes. Some looked military, some looked civilian, all looked exhausted. Vega stood at the front, arms crossed. Sit, eat. You've got 10 minutes. Lena grabbed a tray, eggs, toast, something that might have been sausage, and sat at the nearest table. The man across from her was maybe 25. Buzz cut, tattoos up both arms. He glanced at her, then away. New blood, he muttered. Lena didn't respond, just ate. A woman 2 seats down leaned over, 40-ish, hard eyes, scar across her jaw. Don't bother making friends. Half of us won't be here next week. Why? Because this place chews people up. The buzzcut guy snorted. You lasted 3 weeks, Rivera. That's longer than most. Fuck you, Kane. Fuck you back. Vega's voice cut through. Kane, Rivera, shut it. They did. Lena finished her eggs, drank water, kept her head down. At exactly 0455, Vega clapped her hands. Gear up. Range in 5. Everyone stood, moved, no hesitation. Lena followed. What? The range was underground, 50 meters long, reinforced walls, targets at intervals, static, moving, pop-up, smell of gunpowder and sweat baked into the air. Vega stood at the firing line. Beside her, a table loaded with weapons, handguns, rifles, shotguns, magazines, ammunition. Listen up, Vega said. This is assessment day. I need to see what you can do. No training, no tips, just raw skill. She gestured to the table. Pick a weapon. Any weapon. You've got 60 seconds to put 5 rounds downrange. Grouping matters, speed matters, safety matters. Fuck up any of those and you're out. Questions? Silence. Good. Kane, you're up. Kane stepped forward, grabbed a Glock, loaded, fired. 5 shots in 8 seconds. Decent grouping. Center mass. He set the weapon down, stepped back. Vega nodded. Acceptable. Rivera. Rivera went next. Rifle. Slower. More controlled. Tight grouping. Vega didn't comment, just moved on. One by one, they cycled through. Some were good. Some were average. One guy, skinny, nervous, couldn't have been older than 22, missed 4 out of 5 shots. Vega didn't say a word, just made a note on her clipboard. Then she called, "Cross!" Lena stepped forward, every eye in the room locked on her. She scanned the table. Handguns, rifles, shotguns. She picked up an M4, same model from Falcon Ridge, felt the weight, checked the chamber, loaded the magazine. Vega watched. "You comfortable with that?" "Yes." "Good. 50 meters, 5 rounds. Go." Lena raised the rifle. Breathed, aligned, fired. The first shot cracked through the range, perfect center. She fired again, same hole, 3rd, 4th, 5th. When the echo faded, Vega raised her binoculars, studied the target, lowered them. Her face gave nothing away. "Grouping?" "Single hole," Vega said. "All 5 rounds." Kane whistled low. Rivera's eyebrows went up. Vega made a note. "Acceptable. Next." That was it. No praise, no acknowledgement, just next. Lena set the rifle down, stepped back. But she felt the shift. The room was watching her differently now. Bet. Training started immediately after. Vega didn't explain, didn't lecture, just barked orders. "Obstacle course. Outside. Move!" They ran. Up the stairs, out into the heat. Across the scrubland to a course that looked like it had been designed by someone who hated the human body. Walls, ropes, mud pits, barbed wire crawls, a cargo net that swayed in the wind like a death trap. 3 laps, Vega said. Fastest time gets an extra meal. Slowest time runs it again. Go! They went. Lena hit the first wall at full speed, grabbed the top, hauled herself over, landed hard, kept moving. Her lungs burned, legs screamed. She wasn't 20 anymore, wasn't 30. Her body reminded her of that with every step. But she didn't stop. Kane passed her on the second lap, grinning. "Keep up, Grandma." She didn't respond, just focused on breathing, on movement, on the next obstacle. By the third lap, half the group was walking, 2 had collapsed. Vega stood at the finish line, stopwatch in hand, face unreadable. Lena crossed. 8th place. Not great. Not terrible. Vega didn't comment, just marked her time. Water break. 5 minutes. Then we run it again. Groans, curses. Lena drank, stretched, ignored the burning in her calves. Rivera limped over. "You former military?" "No." "Then how the hell—" "My grandfather." Rivera stared at her. "Your grandfather taught you to do that?" "He taught me not to quit." "Well, he did a shit job because you're gonna die here." Lena met her eyes. "Maybe." Rivera walked away. They ran the course 6 more times that day. By the end, Lena's hands were bleeding, knees shredded, vision blurring from exhaustion. But she finished every single lap. That night, in her bunk, she stared at the ceiling and wondered if she'd made a mistake. Her body hurt in ways she didn't know were possible. Her mind felt numb, hollowed out. She thought about quitting. Then she thought about Jacob, about the drills, the silence, the way he never let her stop. Precision is patience. Patience is power. She closed her eyes, and somewhere deep she felt it, that foundation he'd built, still there, still holding. Week 2 was worse. They introduced hand-to-hand combat. Vega paired them up. No pads, no mercy. Lena got matched with Kane. He grinned. "This is gonna be fun." It wasn't. Kane came in fast, hard. He was bigger, stronger, younger. He threw her across the mat 3 times in the first minute. Vega watched. "Get up, Cross." Lena stood, blood in her mouth, ribs aching. Kane came again. This time she moved, not fast, not aggressive, just precise. She slipped his punch, stepped inside, hooked his ankle, used his momentum against him. Kane hit the mat, hard. Silence. Then Vega's voice. Again. They went again, and again. Kane adjusted, got smarter, but Lena stayed calm, watched, waited. By the end, they were even. Vega called time. Good, both of you, next pair. Kane wiped blood from his nose, looked at Lena. Where'd you learn that? My grandfather. Your grandfather taught you to fight? He taught me to survive. Kane nodded slowly. All right, respect. Week 3 brought firearms training. Not basic, advanced, moving targets, low light, stress positions. Vega would shout instructions mid-drill, changing parameters, forcing decisions. Rifle jammed. Switch to sidearm. Target behind hostage. Adjust. 30 seconds. Move. Lena thrived. It wasn't skill, it was instinct. The drills Jacob had run her through, breath control, sight alignment, trigger discipline, they were hardwired, automatic. She didn't think. She just did. And Vega noticed. After one drill, Vega pulled her aside. You've done this before. No. Don't lie to me. I'm not. I've never been in combat, never been military, never. Then how are you this clean? Lena met her eyes. My grandfather trained me every day for 15 years. I didn't know why. He never explained, just made me do it, over and over, until it was automatic. Vega studied her. What was his name? Jacob Cross. Something flickered in Vega's expression. Brief. Gone. Jacob Cross, she repeated. You knew him? No. Vega turned away. But I know the name. She walked off before Lena could ask more. Week 4, they lost 3 people. 1 quit, just walked out during a night drill and never came back. 2 were injured. Badly. Medevaced out. The group shrank. 10 left. Then 9. Then 8. Lena kept going. She wasn't the fastest, wasn't the strongest. But she didn't break. Rivera lasted until week 5. Then her knee gave out during a 20-mile ruck march. She screamed, collapsed. Vega called it. You're done. Rivera's face crumpled. No, I can finish. I can. You're done. They carried her out. That night, Lena sat alone in the cafeteria. Kane slid into the seat across from her. You ever think about quitting? He asked. Every day. Yeah, me too. He stared at his hands. But I can't. Why? Because if I quit, it means I wasted 6 years in the Marines for nothing. It means I'm just another burnout who couldn't hack it. He looked up. What about you? Lena thought about it. Because my grandfather spent 15 years preparing me for something, and I need to know what. Kane nodded. That's a better reason than mine. Maybe. They sat in silence. Then Kane said, You know what Vega told me? What? She said only 2% of people who start this program finish. What's the program? I don't know, but whatever it is, it's something they can't train in public. Lena felt a chill. What do you mean? Kane leaned closer. I mean, this isn't about making soldiers. This is about making something else. Before Lena could respond, Vega's voice echoed from the hallway. Lights out in 10. Move! Kane stood. See you tomorrow, Cross, if we're still here. He left. Lena sat alone, staring at the table, Jacob's words circling in her mind. Precision is patience. But patience for what? Week 6 brought the final assessment. Vega gathered the remaining 7 trainees in the briefing room. A screen on the wall displayed a topographic map. Listen up, Vega said. This is it. The final evaluation. You'll be dropped 20 miles from base. No GPS. No comms. No support. You have 48 hours to make it back. Along the way, you'll encounter obstacles. Some environmental. Some tactical. Tactical? Kane asked. Vega smiled. You'll see. Anyone who doesn't make it back in time is out. Anyone who gets captured is out. Anyone who dies... She paused. Well, you're definitely out. Nervous laughter. Gear up. Transport leaves in 30. The helicopter dropped them at dawn. Cold, windy, middle of nowhere. Lena hit the ground, shouldered her pack, and started moving. The terrain was brutal. Hills, ravines, dense brush that tore at clothes and skin. No trails, no markers, just raw wilderness. She moved steady, not fast, not slow, controlled. Kane was somewhere behind her, 2 others ahead. The rest scattered. By nightfall, she'd covered 12 miles. She made camp in a shallow ravine. No fire, no light, just MRE rations and cold water. The stars came out, sharp, clear, infinite. Lena thought about Jacob, about the barn, about the drills, and for the first time she wondered if he'd known this would happen. If he'd been preparing her not just to shoot, but to survive something much worse. Day 2 started with gunfire. Distant. West. 3 sharp cracks. Lena froze, listened, silence, then shouting. Movement. She dropped low, moved toward the sound. Slow, careful. Through the brush she saw them. 2 trainees pinned down behind a rock outcrop. Across the clearing, 3 figures in tactical gear. Firing suppression rounds, blank ammunition, but real tactics. This was the test. Lena circled wide, stayed low, reached a position with clear sight lines. She didn't have a weapon. This was an escape and evade drill. But one of the pinned trainees was Kane. He looked terrified. The other trainee, a woman named Ortiz, was bleeding from her leg. Not life-threatening, but enough to slow her down. Lena made a decision. She picked up a rock, threw it hard. 40 meters, hit a tree. The tactical team turned, oriented toward the sound. Kane saw her. Their eyes met. She gestured. Move. Now. Kane grabbed Ortiz. They bolted. The tactical team fired. Blanks, but loud. Disorienting. Lena moved again. Drew their attention. Led them away. For 20 minutes she played cat and mouse. Staying just ahead. Just visible enough to keep them chasing. Then she disappeared. By the time they gave up, Kane and Ortiz were gone. Lena reached base at hour 46, exhausted, filthy, half-starved. Vega was waiting at the gate. Cross. Ma'am. You helped Kane and Ortiz. Yes, ma'am. This was an individual assessment. I know. Vega stared at her. So why? Because they needed help. And if that meant you failed? Lena met her eyes. Then I failed doing the right thing. Vega's expression didn't change. Get cleaned up. Debrief in 1 hour. Ikad. The debrief was short. All 7 had made it back. Against odds. Against expectations. Vega stood at the front, arms crossed. Congratulations. You passed. No applause. No celebration. Just nods. Tomorrow, you start the real training. Kane leaned over to Lena. What the hell was the last 6 weeks? Vega heard him. The last 6 weeks was screening to see if you could handle pressure, pain, uncertainty. Tomorrow we teach you what to do with it. She left. Kane turned to Lena. I owe you. No, you don't. Yeah, I do. He held out his hand. Thanks. Lena shook it, and for the first time since arriving, she felt something other than exhaustion. She felt like she belonged. That night, lying in her bunk, Lena stared at the ceiling. She thought about Jacob, about the drills, about the legacy she didn't understand. And she realized something. He hadn't been preparing her to shoot. He'd been preparing her to decide, to stay calm under pressure, to help others, to survive. Not as a soldier, as something more. She didn't know what yet, but she was going to find out. The real training started at 04:30 the next morning with a sound Lena had never heard before. A klaxon that tore through the bunker like a scream. She jerked awake. Boots hit concrete. Door burst open. Vega's voice echoed down the corridor. Full gear, range, 2 minutes. No time to think. Lena grabbed her tactical vest, boots, rifle, sprinted down the hall with 6 others, all moving on pure adrenaline and muscle memory. They hit the range at 1 minute 48 seconds. Vega stood waiting. Beside her was a man Lena hadn't seen before. Late 50s. Gray hair cropped military short, eyes like ice chips. 3 scars crossed his left cheek in parallel lines. He wore no uniform, no insignia, Just black fatigues and an expression that suggested he'd seen people die and hadn't lost sleep over it. "This is Instructor Graves," Vega said. "He runs advanced operations training. You listen to him. You learn from him. You do not question him. Clear?" "Clear," they said in unison. Graves stepped forward. His voice was quiet, controlled, somehow more terrifying than shouting. "For the last 6 weeks, you've been tested on basics: endurance, marksmanship, mental fortitude." He paused. "That was kindergarten. This is the real world. Out there, you don't get second chances. You don't get timeouts. You make a mistake, people die. Maybe your team, maybe civilians, maybe you." He walked the line, studying each face. "We're going to teach you to operate in environments where the rulebook doesn't exist, where your mission is classified, where your existence is deniable, where success means nobody ever knows you were there." He stopped in front of Lena, looked her up and down. "You're Cross." "Yes, sir." "I read your file. No prior service, no tactical background, trained by your grandfather." His eyes narrowed. "Jacob Cross." Lena's pulse kicked. "You knew him?" "No, but I know what he was." Graves held her gaze. "The question is, do you?" She didn't answer. Graves smiled. It was not kind. "You're about to find out." The first drill was called the box. A 12 by 12 concrete room, 4 walls, 1 door, no windows. Graves pointed to Kane. "You, inside." Kane hesitated. "What's the drill?" "You'll see. Move." Kane entered. The door slammed shut, locked. For 10 seconds, nothing happened. Then the lights went out. Pitch black. Total darkness. Then sound, gunfire, explosions, screaming, all recorded, blasted through hidden speakers at deafening volume. Kane's voice came through a crackling intercom. "What the hell?" "Find the exit," Graves shouted into a microphone. "You have 30 seconds." Lena watched through a one-way mirror. Kane stumbled in the dark, hands searching walls, breath coming in ragged gasps. The sound was overwhelming, disorienting. He didn't find the exit. Time ran out. Lights came back on. Door unlocked. Kane stumbled out, pale, sweating. "You failed," Graves said. "Next, Ortiz." Ortiz went in. Same result. One by one, they tried. One by one, they failed. Then Graves called, "Cross?" Lena stepped forward. "Any questions?" Graves asked. "No, sir." "Good. Inside." She entered. The door locked. Darkness. Then the sound hit. Gunfire. Explosions. Chaos. Lena's first instinct was panic. Her heart hammered. Adrenaline spiked. Then Jacob's voice echoed in her memory. "Slow your breathing. Control what you can control. Everything else is noise." She closed her eyes. Breathed. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. The sound didn't stop, but it became background. She moved to the nearest wall, traced it with her hands. Smooth concrete. No seams. Moved to the next wall. Same. Third wall. Her fingers found it. A slight depression. A handle. She pulled. The door opened. Light flooded in. Graves stood there, stopwatch in hand. 18 seconds. The room went silent. Kane's jaw dropped. Ortiz stared. Graves studied Lena. "How?" "I stopped listening to the noise." "And how did you know to do that?" "My grandfather taught me that panic is a choice." Graves nodded slowly. "Interesting." He turned to the group. "Cross just demonstrated the first principle of advanced operations. Control your environment or it controls you. The noise was designed to overwhelm. She chose not to be overwhelmed." He looked back at Lena. "That's genetic memory. The kind you can't teach. The kind that comes from years of conditioning." His voice dropped. "Your grandfather knew what he was doing." Lena said nothing, but she felt the weight of every eye in the room. The drills escalated. Close quarters combat, room clearing, hostage scenarios, bomb defusal simulations, each one designed to push them past breaking points. Lena didn't dominate. She wasn't the fastest or the strongest, but she didn't crack, didn't freeze, didn't panic. She stayed calm. And in that world, calm was currency. Graves noticed. After a live-fire drill where Lena successfully cleared 4 rooms without missing a target, he pulled her aside. "You move like someone who's done this before." "I haven't." "Then you move like someone who was born for it." He crossed his arms. "Tell me about Jacob Cross." Lena hesitated. "What do you want to know?" "Everything," she exhaled. "He was a farmer. Quiet. Kept to himself. Every morning before school, he'd take me to the barn, make me run drills, shooting, breath control, movement. He never explained why, just said it was important." "For how long?" 15 years. Graves' eyebrows rose. 15 years of daily training. And he never told you why? "No." "Did he ever talk about his past?" "Never." "I asked once. He just said, 'The past is a tool. Use it or bury it. Never let it use you.'" Graves was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Jacob Cross was part of Black Talon, deep cover operations during the Cold War, precision elimination, psychological warfare, the kind of missions that don't make it into history books." Lena's chest tightened. "How do you know?" "Because I worked adjacent ops, different unit, same era. We never met, but his name came up. Always the same story, impossible shots, ghost-level infiltration, zero collateral. He was a legend." "Why didn't he tell me?" "Because men like him don't talk about what they've done. They carry it, bury it, and sometimes," Graves met her eyes, "they pass it on." Lena felt something crack open inside her. "He was preparing me." "Yes." "For what?" "To be what he was. What he couldn't stop being." Graves's voice softened, just slightly. "You don't train someone for 15 years unless you're building something permanent. He saw something in you, something worth shaping." "What if I'm not what he thought?" "Then you wouldn't have made it this far." Week 8 brought the field exercise. Graves briefed them in the war room. A large screen displayed a compound, industrial, abandoned, surrounded by chain-link fence. "Your mission," Graves said, "is simple. Infiltrate this facility, retrieve a package, exfiltrate without being detected. You'll be working in teams of 2. Opposing force is armed with simunition rounds. If you're hit, you're out. If you're captured, you're out. If you fail to retrieve the package, we're out," Kane finished. "Correct." Graves tapped the screen. "Terrain is hostile. Guards rotate every 20 minutes. Security cameras cover 70% of the compound. Alarms are motion sensitive. You have 4 hours. Questions?" Ortiz raised her hand. "Who are we partnered with?" Graves pulled up a list. "Kane and Reeves, Ortiz and Chen, Cross and Dalton." Lena glanced at Dalton. Mid-20s. Former Marine Scout sniper. Quiet. Competent. He nodded at her. "Gear up," Graves said. "Transport leaves in 30. The compound was worse than the briefing suggested. Chain-link fence topped with razor wire. Guard towers at each corner. Floodlights sweeping the perimeter. Industrial buildings loomed in the center, dark and skeletal. Lena and Dalton lay prone in the brush 200 meters out, studying the layout. 2 guards on the east gate, Dalton whispered. Rotating every 20. Camera blind spot near the southeast corner. How long? 15 seconds. Maybe 20. Lena scanned the compound. Thought, calculated. We go southeast, slip the fence during rotation, move to building 3. Package should be inside. And if it's not? Then we adapt. Dalton grinned. I like the way you think. They waited for the guard rotation, watched the pattern, timed it, then moved. Fast, low, silent. They hit the fence during the blind spot. Dalton cut the chain link with wire cutters. They slipped through, stayed in shadow. Building 3 loomed ahead. No lights, no movement. They reached the door. Locked. Dalton pulled a pick set. Worked the lock. 15 seconds. Click. They entered. Inside was darkness, concrete floors, metal shelves, the smell of rust and decay. Lena pulled night vision goggles down. The world turned green. There, she whispered. A metal case sat on a table in the center of the room, unmarked, locked. They moved toward it. That's when the lights came on. blinding, disorienting. Voices shouted, "Freeze! Hands up!" 6 guards surrounded them, rifles raised, simunition, but the threat was real. Dalton's hands went up. "Shit!" Lena didn't move. Her mind raced. Options, variables, outcomes. The lead guard stepped forward. "On your knees, now!" Lena's eyes flicked to the case, to the guards, to the exit. Then she made a decision. She dropped, not to her knees, into a roll, grabbed the case, hurled it toward Dalton. "Go!" Gunfire erupted. Simunition rounds cracked through the air. Paint splattered the walls. Dalton caught the case, bolted for the door. Lena moved like liquid, weaving, dodging, using the shelves as cover. A round grazed her shoulder. Another missed by inches. She hit the door 3 seconds after Dalton. They sprinted into the night. Alarms blared. Floodlights swung toward them. "This way!" Dalton shouted. They veered left, toward the fence, toward freedom. Guards poured out of buildings. Radios crackled. Dogs barked. Lena's lungs burned. Legs screamed. But she didn't stop. They hit the fence. Dalton threw the case over, climbed. Lena followed. A round hit her leg. Paint exploded. She felt the impact but kept moving. They dropped on the other side, grabbed the case, ran, 200 meters, 300, into the brush, into the darkness. Behind them, the compound lit up like a war zone. But they were gone, us. They made it back to the extraction point with 11 minutes to spare. Graves stood waiting, arms crossed, face unreadable. "Report." Dalton held up the case. Package retrieved, 0 casualties. "You were hit. Simunition, non-critical." Graves looked at Lena. Her leg was covered in blue paint, shoulder marked. "You took 2 hits." "Yes, sir." "And you still completed the mission." "Yes, sir." Graves took the case, opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper. It read, "Pass." He closed the case, looked at them both. "You were supposed to fail." Dalton blinked. "What?" "This drill was designed to be impossible. 6 guards, full coverage. We wanted to see how you'd handle failure. So You didn't fail. You adapted, improvised, took risks." Graves turned to Lena. "You threw the package to your partner and drew fire. Why?" "Because getting the mission done mattered more than not getting hit." "You could have been captured." "But I wasn't." Graves stared at her. Then, for the first time, he smiled. "Jacob Cross trained you well." That night, the remaining trainees gathered in the briefing room. Graves stood at the front, Vega beside him. "You've completed Phase 2, Graves said. "You've proven you can operate under pressure, adapt to chaos, complete missions despite impossible odds." He paused. "Tomorrow, you begin Phase 3, final selection. Not everyone will make it. Some of you will quit, some will fail, and some," his eyes swept the room, "will become operators." He let that sink in. Phase 3 is 48 hours. No sleep, no breaks. One continuous operation. If you survive, you graduate. If you don't, he shrugged. "There's no shame in it. This program isn't for everyone." Kane raised his hand. "What's the mission?" "You'll find out when it starts." Graves turned to leave, then stopped. "One more thing. In Phase 3, there are no teams, no partners, just you, alone, against everything we throw at you." He left. The room sat in heavy silence. Ortiz muttered, "We're fucked." Kane looked at Lena. "You ready for this?" Lena thought about Jacob, about the drills, about 15 years of preparation she never understood. "Yeah," she said quietly. "I think I am, Bassab." Phase 3 began at midnight. They were woken by Graves' voice over the intercom. "Phase 3 is active. Report to Armory. Gear up. You have 10 minutes." Lena moved on autopilot, grabbed her gear, loaded her rifle, checked her kit. The Armory was chaos. 7 people scrambling, adrenaline spiking. Graves appeared. "Listen up. Your mission is simple. Survive. For the next 48 hours, you will be hunted. Opposing force consists of 12 operators, former special forces. They have live tracking, thermal imaging, air support. You have your wits and your training." He pulled up a map. You'll be dropped in a 200 square mile zone. Mountainous, dense forest. No roads, no shelter. Evade capture. Reach the extraction point by 2,400 hours tomorrow. Anyone captured is out. Anyone who doesn't make extraction is out. Questions? Silence. Good. Transport leaves in 5. Cut. The helicopter dropped Lena in darkness. Cold wind. Dense trees. No lights. She hit the ground running. The first hour was pure movement, putting distance between herself and the drop zone. No plan. Just instinct. She covered 3 miles, stopped, listened, silence. Then, distant. Helicopter rotors. They were already hunting. Lena moved deeper into the forest. Stayed low. Stayed quiet. Hour 2, she heard voices. Close. Too close. She dropped prone. Controlled her breathing. 2 operators moved past. Thermal scopes sweeping. Radios crackling. Sector 7 clear. Moving to 8. They disappeared into the darkness. Lena waited 5 minutes, then moved. Hour 12. Exhaustion hit. She hadn't slept, hadn't stopped. Every muscle screamed, but she kept moving. At hour 18, she found water. A stream. Ice cold. She drank. Refilled her canteen. That's when she heard it. Footsteps. She spun. 3 operators, 30 meters out, rifles raised. Freeze! Lena didn't think, didn't plan. She just moved, dove into the stream. Let the current take her. Cold water slammed into her like a fist. She went under, held her breath, let the current carry her downstream. Above, shouts, gunfire, blanks, but terrifying. She surfaced 100 meters down, gasped, kept moving. They didn't follow. Hour 36, she was done. Body broken, mind numb, vision blurring. She collapsed against a tree, closed her eyes. Just for a minute, just to rest. Jacob's voice echoed in her mind. Precision is patience. Patience is power. You don't quit, ever. You endure, you adapt, you survive. Lena opened her eyes, stood, kept moving. Hour 47, she saw the extraction point. A clearing, helicopter waiting, Graves standing beside it. She stumbled out of the tree line. Graves looked up. Surprise flickered across his face. Cross. Sir? You're the first one here. Lena didn't respond. Just stood there, covered in mud, blood, exhaustion. Graves walked over, studied her. How many did you evade? Lost count. You've been moving for 47 hours straight. Yes, sir. Most people break at 30. I'm not most people. Graves smiled. No, you're not. He gestured to the helicopter. Get in. You're done. Lena climbed aboard, collapsed into the seat, and for the first time in 2 days, she let herself breathe. 3 others made it. Kane, Ortiz, a guy named Chen. The rest were captured or gave up. Graves gathered them in the briefing room. Congratulations, you passed Phase 3. You're now operators. No applause, no celebration, just exhaustion. Tomorrow, you receive your assignments. Sleep, eat, recover. He started to leave, then turned back. Cross. A word. Lena followed him to a side office. Graves closed the door. Sit. She sat. He pulled a file from his desk, slid it across. This is your grandfather's service record, declassified, partially. Lena opened it. Page after page of redacted text, mission names, dates, locations, all blacked out. But one section was clear. Operator designation, Black Talon. 7. Specialty, precision elimination / psychological operations. Missions completed, 47 casualties, 0. Lena stared. 47 missions, Graves said quietly. 0 casualties. No civilian deaths, no collateral, just clean, precise work. He pointed to a photo clipped to the file. Jacob Cross. Younger. In tactical gear. Standing with a team. That's him in 74, Berlin. Deep cover op. He single-handedly prevented a Soviet escalation that could have started World War III. Lena's hands shook. He never told me. Because he didn't want you to carry that weight. Graves leaned forward. But he gave you the tools, the training, the foundation, because he knew that one day you might need it. For what? Graves smiled. To become what you just became. He stood, extended his hand. Welcome to Black Talon, Operator Cross. Lena shook his hand, and everything Jacob had built, every drill, every lesson, every silent morning, finally made sense. Lena stared at the file, at Jacob's face frozen in time. Young, hard, alive. The words echoed in her skull. Welcome to Black Talon, Operator Cross. She looked up at Graves. Black Talon was disbanded in 1987. Officially. Meaning? Graves closed the office door, locked it, returned to his desk, and sat. Meaning the name changed, the structure evolved, but the mission never stopped. He folded his hands. We don't operate under government oversight anymore. We're a ghost unit, funded through black budgets, answerable to no one except a council of 3 former intelligence directors who don't officially exist. Lena's mouth went dry. What's the mission? Precision intervention, high-value targets that governments can't touch, situations where conventional military or intelligence operations would cause diplomatic nightmares. We go in. We solve problems. We disappear. You're talking about assassination. Sometimes. Other times it's extraction, sabotage, psychological manipulation. Whatever the situation requires. Graves leaned forward. We don't start wars, Cross. We prevent them. Quietly. Permanently. Lena set the file down. Her hands weren't shaking anymore, just steady, cold. Why me? Because you have what we can't train. Genetic memory. Instinct hardwired through 15 years of conditioning. You don't think like an operator. You are one. You just didn't know it yet. And the others? Kane, Ortiz? They're good, but they're soldiers. They follow orders. You... Graves paused, choosing his words carefully. You make decisions, the right ones, under pressure, without hesitation. That's rare. How rare? In 30 years, I've seen maybe 5 people with that quality. Your grandfather was one. You're another. Lena stood, walked to the window. Outside, the scrubland stretched endlessly under a sky bleeding into dusk. What if I say no? Then you walk away. We erase your records. You go back to your life. No hard feelings. And if I say yes? Graves pulled another folder from his desk. Thicker. Classified stamps across the cover. Then you read this, and you make a choice that can't be unmade. He slid it across. Lena picked it up, opened it. The first page was a mission brief. Operation, Nightfall. Target, Dmitry Volkov. Location, Prague, Czech Republic. Objective, elimination threat level. Critical. She flipped through. Photos. Intel reports. Surveillance footage. Volkov was an arms dealer. Former KGB. Current supplier to 3 active terror cells. Untouchable through diplomatic channels. This is active, Russ, Lena asked. Goes live in 72 hours. We need an operator. You have Kane, Ortiz, Chen. They're not ready. You are. Lena closed the folder, met his eyes. Why do you think that? Because I watched you for 8 weeks. You don't just complete missions. You understand them. You see 3 moves ahead. That's not training. That's instinct. Graves stood. Your grandfather saw it in you when you were a kid. That's why he built you into this. Into a killer. Into a tool that saves lives by taking one. Graves's voice hardened. Volkov has supplied weapons to organizations that have killed 400 people in the last 2 years. 400. Men, women, children. He's planning another shipment next week. If it goes through, we're looking at another mass casualty event. Maybe worse. Lena's jaw tightened. And if I eliminate him? The shipment dies with him. The network collapses. 400 lives are avenged. Thousands more are saved. You make it sound clean. It's not. It's never clean. Graves walked around the desk. But it's necessary. And you're one of the few people capable of doing it right. Lena looked at the folder again, at Volkov's face, cold eyes, cruel smile. She thought about Jacob, about the drills, the patience, the precision. You don't train someone for 15 years unless you're building something permanent. She exhaled slowly. I need to think. You have 24 hours. That night, Lena sat alone in the empty cafeteria. The base was quiet. Most operators were asleep. A few moved through distant corridors like shadows. She stared at her hands, calloused, scarred, capable. Kane walked in, stopped when he saw her. Thought I'd find you here. Can't sleep? Never can after phase 3. He grabbed coffee, sat across from her. You okay? I don't know. Kane studied her. Graves talked to you, didn't he? Yeah. About Black Talon. Lena looked up sharply. You know? I figured it out. Graves doesn't run a normal training program. This whole thing, it's recruitment. He sipped his coffee. They offered you an op, didn't they? How did you... Because they offered me one too. Different target, same 72-hour timeline. Kane set the cup down. I said yes. Lena felt something twist in her chest. Just like that? No, not just like that. I thought about it for 6 hours. Threw up twice. Almost called my sister to say goodbye. He met her eyes. But yeah, I said yes. Why? Because I've been killing people for 6 years in uniform. At least now I get to choose who and why. His voice dropped. And because if I don't, someone else will. Maybe they'll do it right. Maybe they'll fuck it up and kill civilians. I'd rather it be me. Lena was silent. Kane leaned forward. What did your grandfather teach you? Precision, patience, control. He teach you why it mattered? No. But you know now. Lena nodded slowly. Yeah, I do. Kane stood. Whatever you decide, I respect it. But for what it's worth, he paused at the door. You're the best operator in this program. If anyone can do this right, it's you. He left. Lena sat alone, staring at her reflection in the dark window, and made her decision. Graves was awake when she knocked on his office door at 0300. Come in. She entered. He looked up from a stack of reports. Cross. I'm in. He set down his pen. You're sure? Yes. You understand what this means? I understand that I was trained for this my entire life. I understand that if I don't do it, someone less capable might. And I understand that hesitation costs lives. She met his gaze. So, yes, I'm sure. Graves nodded, pulled the folder from his desk. Then we start now. The briefing room at 0400 was just Lena, Graves, and Vega. Graves pulled up surveillance footage on the main screen. Dmitry Volkov, 53, former KGB Strategic Operations. After the Soviet collapse, he went private, runs one of the largest illegal arms networks in Eastern Europe. Photos cycled, warehouses, meetings, transactions. He's careful, moves every 72 hours, uses different identities, never stays in one location long enough to be traced. So, how do we find him? Lena asked. We already have. He's scheduled to meet a buyer in Prague tomorrow night. 2,100 hours, a gallery opening, public event, high security. You want me to take him in public? No, too much exposure. We need you to follow him after the event. He'll go to a secondary location, a safe house. That's where you make the hit. Vega pulled up a schematic. The safe house is a 4th-floor apartment in Old Town. 2 exits, 1 stairwell, 1 fire escape. He travels with 2 bodyguards, both armed, both former Spetsnaz. Lena studied the layout. Approach? We insert you 48 hours early. You'll pose as a tourist, scout the area, identify patterns. When Volkov arrives, you shadow him. Wait for the right moment. Make the hit. Exfiltrate. Weapon? Graves pulled a case from under the table, opened it. Inside was a rifle, custom build, suppressed barrel, precision scope. Remington 700, chambered in .308, Effective range 800 meters. With your skill set, you could hit a target at 1200. Lena lifted the rifle, felt its weight, its balance. It felt like coming home. What about extraction? We'll have a team on standby, but the priority is the hit. If you're compromised, you're on your own until you reach the safe zone. And if I'm captured, you won't be. Graves' voice was iron, because you're too good to let that happen. Lena flew into Prague 36 hours later. Commercial flight, false passport, tourist cover. She checked into a small hotel near Old Town, spent the first day walking the streets, memorizing routes, exit points, choke zones. The city was beautiful, cobblestone streets, Gothic architecture, tourists everywhere. Perfect for disappearing. She located Volkov's safe house. 4th floor, corner apartment, windows facing the street, fire escape accessible from the roof of the adjacent building. She scouted the gallery. High-end. Invitation only. She couldn't get inside, but she didn't need to. She just needed to know where Volkov would exit. Day 2, she tracked his bodyguards. 2 men, large, professional. They swept the area 3 times before the event, checked sightlines, identified threats. Lena watched from a cafe across the street. Invisible. By nightfall, she was ready. The gallery event started at 2100. Lena waited on a rooftop 2 buildings over. Rifle assembled, scope zeroed, breathing controlled. At 2237, Volkov emerged. Tall, gray hair, expensive suit, 2 bodyguards flanking him. They walked 3 blocks, got into a black Mercedes. Drove. Lena followed on foot, stayed in shadows, kept distance. The Mercedes stopped outside the safe house. Volkov got out. Bodyguards scanned the street, then all 3 entered the building. Lena moved. She crossed to the adjacent building, climbed the fire escape, reached the roof. From there, she had a perfect sightline into Volkov's apartment. She set up the rifle, adjusted the scope, waited. At 2314, Volkov appeared in the window, alone, pouring a drink. Lena's finger rested on the trigger. Precision is patience. She slowed her breathing, calculated wind, distance, angle. Volkov stood still, sipping his drink, oblivious. Lena exhaled halfway, held, then squeezed. The rifle kicked, suppressed crack, barely louder than a cough. Through the scope, she saw Volkov's head snap back. Glass shattered. He dropped. Lena didn't wait. She broke down the rifle, packed it, moved down the fire escape into the alley, blended with the night. Behind her, sirens began to wail, but she was already gone. She made it to the safe house 20 minutes later, a small apartment on the outskirts. Graves was waiting. Confirmed hit? Yes. Clean? Yes. Graves exhaled. Good. Transport leaves in 1 hour. Destroy the rifle. Change clothes. We're out of here. Lena nodded, went to the bathroom, looked at herself in the mirror. Same face, same eyes. But something had changed. She'd crossed a line, taken a life, become what Jacob had built her to be. She felt nothing, no guilt, no satisfaction, just calm. Precision is patience. Patience is power. She changed clothes, destroyed the rifle, burned the components. An hour later, they were on a plane. Back at the base, Graves debriefed her in the war room. How do you feel? Fine. No hesitation? No. No regret? Lena met his eyes. He was a threat. I eliminated him. That's the mission. Graves studied her. You understand what you've become. Yes. And you're okay with it. I was built for it. Lena's voice was steady. My grandfather knew. He prepared me. I'm just continuing what he started. Graves nodded slowly. Then welcome to the life, Operator Cross. Altan. The next morning, Lena stood in the armory cleaning her gear. Kane walked in, saw her, stopped. Heard you completed your op. Yeah. How was it? Lena paused. Necessary. Kane nodded. Yeah, that's the word. He sat on a bench. You ever think about the people we're becoming? Every day. And? And I think we're the people who do what others can't or won't. Lena set down the cleaning rod. My grandfather carried this weight for decades. Never told anyone, never asked for credit, just did the work. You miss him? Every day? You think he'd be proud? Lena thought about it, about the drills, the silence, the lessons. Yeah, she said quietly. I think he would. Kane stood. For what it's worth, I think so too. He left. Lena returned to her work, hands steady, mind clear. She was no longer Lena Cross, office worker. She was Operator Cross, Black Talon, and the world would never know her name. Bob. 3 weeks later, Lena stood in Graves' office. Another mission? She asked. Yes, Karachi. High-value target. Complex environment. When? 72 hours. Lena nodded. I'll be ready. Graves handed her the folder. You always are. She took it, started to leave. Cross. She turned. Your grandfather would be proud, Graves said. But more importantly, you should be proud of yourself. Lena allowed herself a small smile. I am. She walked out. Down the corridor, past the training rooms, past the range, to her quarters, where, on the small shelf beside her bunk, sat a single photo. Jacob Cross, standing in front of a barn, rifle in hand, face weathered and calm. She touched the frame. I understand now, she whispered. Thank you. Then she opened the mission folder and got to work. Because this was who she was. This was what she'd been built for, and she was just getting started. The Karachi folder sat open on Lena's desk, illuminated by the cold glow of a single lamp. Target. Hassan Khalid. Pakistani Sain. ES. I officer gone rogue. Selling classified intelligence to the highest bidder. 3 confirmed transactions with terror networks. Current location, fortified compound in Karachi's industrial district. Security, 12 guards. Surveillance, comprehensive. Risk level, extreme. Lena studied the satellite photos. The compound was a fortress, high walls, guard towers, kill zones at every entrance. But there was always a way in. She just had to find it. A knock at her door. Come in. Graves entered. He looked tired, more than usual. You read the brief? Yes. Thoughts? Lena tapped the photo. Frontal assault is suicide. Perimeter is too tight. I'd need to go vertical, rooftop insertion, night approach, single shot from elevated position. Range? 800 meters, maybe 9. Wind conditions will be the variable. Graves nodded. That's the plan we had too. He sat down. But there's a complication. What kind? Khalid knows he's being hunted. He's moved up his timeline. The intelligence sale happens in 48 hours instead of 72. We need you wheels up in 6 hours. Lena's pulse didn't spike, didn't change, just steady, calm. I'll be ready. Graves studied her. You've completed 4 operations in 3 months. Most operators take a year to reach that number. You're not tired? No. Not questioning? Should I be? Graves leaned back. I don't know. Most people start to crack around Op 3. The weight accumulates, sleep gets harder, second guessing starts. He paused. You seem unaffected. Lena met his eyes. My grandfather did 47 missions, 0 casualties. He taught me that precision isn't just about shooting, it's about clarity. You define the mission, you execute, you move on. Emotion is interference. That's cold. That's survival. Graves was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Your grandfather retired at 52, disappeared, became a farmer. You ever wonder why? He got old. No, he got tired. The work wore him down, not physically, mentally. He told someone once that every mission took a piece of him. After 47, there wasn't much left. Graves leaned forward. I'm telling you this because I don't want you to end up the same way. Hollow. Used up. A weapon with nothing left to fight for. Lena looked at the photo of Jacob on her shelf, silent, watching. He gave me 15 years of his life to prepare me for this. I won't waste it by burning out in year one. Then pace yourself, take breaks, remember you're still human. I remember, Lena said quietly, but being human doesn't stop the mission. Graves stood. 6 hours, don't be late. He left. Lena packed her gear, rifle case, tactical vest, false documents, all routine now, muscle memory. But Graves' words lingered. Every mission took a piece of him. She looked at her hands, steady, controlled. She wondered what pieces she'd already lost. Karachi was heat and chaos and noise. Lena arrived under a Canadian passport. Tourist cover. Checked into a rundown hotel near the port. The air smelled like diesel and salt and decay. She had 36 hours to scout. Plan. Execute. The compound was worse in person. 3-story main building, concrete walls topped with razor wire. Guard rotations every hour. Dogs patrolling the perimeter. Lena spent day one watching from a rooftop cafe 3 blocks away. Noted patterns, weak points, blind spots. The best shot was from an abandoned warehouse 700 meters northwest. Elevated position. Clear sight line to Khalid's 3rd-floor office. She scouted the warehouse at dusk. Broken windows, rusted beams, pigeons nesting in the rafters. Perfect. Day 2, she assembled her rifle, ran calculations, wind speed, humidity, bullet drop at 700 meters. Everything had to be exact. At 2,000 hours, she climbed to the warehouse roof, set up her position, waited. Khalid appeared at 2,143. Through the scope, she saw him clearly. Mid-40s, beard, glasses. Sitting at a desk, reviewing documents. Lena's finger rested on the trigger. Precision is patience. She breathed, slow, controlled. The crosshairs settled on Khalid's head. She began to squeeze, then stopped. In the scope, someone else entered the room. A child. Girl. Maybe 8 years old. She ran to Khalid, hugged him. His daughter. Lena's breath caught. Khalid smiled, picked up the girl, spun her around. The crosshairs trembled. Lena pulled her eye from the scope, exhaled hard. Just take the shot. He's a traitor. He's selling intelligence that will get people killed. She looked again. Khalid was reading to his daughter now. A storybook. The girl laughed. Lena's hands shook. She'd killed 4 men. All deserved it. All threats. But she'd never seen their families, never seen them as fathers, brothers, sons. Now she did. And it changed everything. She lowered the rifle, picked up her radio. Abort, she whispered. Static. Then Graves' voice. Say again. Mission abort. I can't take the shot. Cross, what's happening? His daughter is in the room. I can't. You wait for a clear shot. That's protocol. It's not about protocol. It's... Lena's voice cracked. I can't do this. Silence on the line. Then Graves. Exfil in 20. We'll discuss when you're out. Lena packed her rifle, climbed down, disappeared into the Karachi night. But she felt it. The first crack in the foundation. Back at base, Graves didn't yell. That was worse. He sat across from her in the briefing room, arms crossed, face unreadable. Tell me what happened. I saw his daughter. I couldn't take the shot. Why? Because killing him would destroy her. And Lena stopped. I couldn't be the reason another kid grows up without a father. Khalid is responsible for intelligence leaks that have resulted in 18 deaths. 4 of them children. I know. And you still couldn't pull the trigger. No. Graves leaned back. This is what I was afraid of. What? You're starting to see them as people, not targets. People. He stood, walked to the window. That's when operators break. When they stop being tools and start being human again. Lena's throat tightened. Maybe that's not a bad thing. It is if it gets you killed, or gets someone else killed because you hesitated. So what are you saying? I should just stop caring? I'm saying you need to decide what you are. Human or operator. You can't be both. Not in this job. Lena stood. My grandfather was both. And it destroyed him. The words hung in the air like smoke. Graves turned. Jacob Cross retired because he couldn't carry the weight anymore. Every target had a family, a story, a reason, and eventually he couldn't separate the mission from the cost. He walked closer. Is that what you want? To spend your life wondering if you made the right call? If the people you killed deserved it? Don't they? Some do, some don't. But that's not your job to decide. Your job is to execute the mission. And if I can't? Graves' expression softened just slightly. Then you walk away. No shame, no judgment. You gave it everything. But this life isn't for everyone. Lena felt something break inside her. I thought I was built for this. You were, but being built for something doesn't mean you're meant for it. Graves put a hand on her shoulder. You're one of the best operators I've ever seen, but you're also human, and sometimes being human is more important. Lena walked the base that night, past the range, past the barracks, out to the edge of the scrubland where the world stretched empty and endless. She thought about Jacob, about the drills, about the photo. Precision is patience, patience is power. But what was the point of power if it hollowed you out? She pulled out her phone, scrolled to her sister's number, hadn't called in 3 months. She pressed dial. It rang 4 times. Then, Lena? Her sister's voice, familiar, warm. Hey, Sarah. Oh my God, where have you been? I've been trying to reach you for weeks. I know, I'm sorry, I've been busy. Busy? Lena, you disappeared. No calls, no texts. Mom's been worried sick. Lena's chest tightened. I'm fine. Really? Are you? Because you sound… Sarah paused. You sound different. Different how? I don't know. Harder. Like something's changed. Lena looked out at the empty horizon. Yeah, something has. What happened? Lena almost told her. Almost explained everything. The training, the missions, the kills. But she couldn't. I just needed space to figure things out. And did you? Lena thought about Khalid, about his daughter, about the shot she couldn't take. I'm working on it. Sarah sighed. Well, whatever you're doing, just be safe, okay? And call more, please. I will. Promise? Promise. They hung up. Lena stood alone in the dark, feeling the weight of everything she'd become, and wondering if she could ever go back. Wand. The next morning, Lena knocked on Graves' office. Come in. She entered. He looked up. I'm out, she said. Graves set down his pen. You're sure? Yes. Why? Because you were right. I can't be both, and I'd rather be human than a tool. Graves nodded slowly. I respect that. He pulled a folder from his desk. Exit paperwork. Sign and you're free. We'll erase your records. You go back to your life. Lena took the folder, stared at it, then set it down. I need to do one more thing first. What? Khalid. The mission I aborted. I need to finish it. Graves frowned. Why? You just said you're out. Because I left it unfinished, and if I walk away now, I'll always wonder if I quit because I couldn't handle it, or because I was scared. You don't have to prove anything. I'm not proving anything. I'm closing the loop. Lena met his eyes. One more mission, my way, then I'm done. Graves studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Your way. But you get one shot, literally. If it doesn't work, you abort and we extract you. Clear? Clear. Hint. Lena flew back to Karachi 48 hours later. But this time she didn't bring a rifle. She brought a different plan. She tracked Khalid's movements, his routines, his vulnerabilities. And she found one. Every Thursday, Khalid met a contact at a cafe in Old Town. Public. Crowded. No security. Lena waited at a table nearby. Dressed as a local. Headscarf. Sunglasses. Invisible. Khalid arrived at 1400. Sat alone. Ordered tea. Lena stood, walked over, sat across from him. Khalid looked up, startled. Who are… My name doesn't matter, Lena said quietly in Urdu. What matters is that you're being hunted. Khalid's face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. You've sold intelligence to people who've killed innocents. You know exactly what I'm talking about. His hand moved toward his jacket. I wouldn't, Lena said. I'm not here to kill you. Then why are you here? To give you a choice. Lena leaned forward. You have two options. Option 1, I walk away. And the next person they send won't talk first. They'll just put a bullet in your head, maybe in front of your daughter. Khalid's jaw tightened. Option 2, you turn yourself in, cooperate with Pakistani intelligence, give them everything, names, transactions, networks. In exchange, you get witness protection. Your family stays safe. Your daughter grows up with a father. They'll kill me. Maybe. But it's better than a guaranteed bullet. Lena stood. You have 24 hours. After that, the decision gets made for you. She walked out. Left him sitting there, shaking, pale. Mob. 22 hours later, Khalid walked into a Pakistani intelligence office. He confessed, gave names, locations, everything. The network collapsed within a week. Graves called Lena into his office when she returned. You went off script. I did. You were supposed to eliminate him. I gave him a choice instead. He made the right one. Graves leaned back. That's not how we operate. Maybe it should be. Graves was silent. Then he smiled. Your grandfather would have done the same thing. You think so? I know so. He hated killing, did it when necessary, but always looked for another way first. Graves stood, extended his hand. You're a better operator than he was, because you figured that out faster. Lena shook his hand. I'm still out. I know, and I respect that. He pulled an envelope from his desk. Discharge papers, signed, you're free. Lena took it, felt the weight. What happens to the program? It continues. Kane, Ortiz, others. They'll carry the mission forward. And me? You go live your life, whatever that looks like. Lena nodded. Thank you. For what? For giving me a chance to find out who I really am. Graves smiled. You're welcome, Operator Cross. Or should I say, Lena? She smiled back. Lena works. Mtet. 3 weeks later, Lena stood at Jacob's grave, a quiet hillside in Montana. Wind moving through tall grass, sky endless and blue. She knelt, touched the headstone. I understand now, she said quietly. Why you trained me. Why you never explained. You were giving me a choice, to become what you were, or something better. She set down a photo, the two of them. Barn, dawn, rifles in hand. I chose better. I hope that's okay. The wind picked up, rustled the grass. Lena stood, looked out at the horizon. She thought about the missions, the kills, the choices. And she thought about Khalid's daughter, safe now, because Lena chose mercy over mission. That felt right. She turned, walked back to her truck. In the passenger seat sat a folder, job offer, private security consulting, nothing classified, nothing lethal, just protection, strategy, teaching others to survive. She opened it, read the details, then smiled. This was who she was now, not a weapon, not a tool, just Lena Cross, trained by a legend, tested by fire, shaped by choice, and finally, free. Years later, at a training facility in Colorado, Lena stood before a class of 20 recruits, young, eager, uncertain. She walked the line, studied their faces. My name is Lena Cross, she said. I'm going to teach you how to survive, how to think under pressure, how to make decisions when there are no good options. A young woman in the back raised her hand. Have you been in combat? Lena paused. I've been in situations where the wrong choice meant people died. Does that count? The woman nodded. Good. Then pay attention. Because what I'm about to teach you isn't just about shooting, it's about being human in a world that tries to make you a machine. She picked up a rifle, felt its weight. My grandfather taught me that precision is patience. Patience is power. But he also taught me something else. She set the rifle down. Power without purpose is just destruction, and purpose without humanity is just cruelty. The recruits listened, silent, focused. You're here because someone thinks you have potential. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But potential means nothing if you don't choose what to do with it. She looked at them, one by one. So here's my promise. I'll teach you to be dangerous, but I'll also teach you to be kind, to be precise, but also to be thoughtful, to be powerful, but never hollow. She stepped back. Because the world has enough weapons. What it needs are people who can choose when not to pull the trigger. The class began, and Lena Cross, operator, daughter, teacher, finally understood what Jacob had been building all along. Not a killer, a protector, someone who could carry the weight and still choose mercy when it mattered most. Message: never mistake quiet for weakness. The underestimated often carry the sharpest edge, and the wisdom to know when not to use it.